So I thought I would make a quick video real quick. I thought I'd touch upon something that someone told me about how things are still essentially the same in the US. Versus like back a long time ago, 1900s, stuff like that. I mean, people are still being discriminated against. Uh, you know, minorities, mostly. Um, then there's, we're still living in a world where we can just be exploded by a nuke and, like, with the touch of a button. So that's kind of, still scary. Uh, then there's, the cops still being corrupt. Then there's something that's a little bit different. Like, they told me it was the same, but I think it's a little bit different. So, it used to be back in the day that, women were kind of discriminated against. And then for a while, we were pretty much equal, even though there were some laws catered to women that heavily favored them. Now, it's like those so-called feminist groups are just, they don't even care that they have the better deal when it comes to a lot of laws. And, they just want what they want, which is basically total domination over men or something like that. Maybe it's not what they want. They just want to basically make us ashamed, make us feel bad, make us feel like crap, They want to basically make us feel like total shit because we're men. They basically want to be the dominant one in society, the dominant gender. And, I don't think it's ever going to work that way. Men were taken off their pedestal around the early 80s or something, And, we're content with being equal with women or even letting them have slightly better hand. But, in general, but at the same time, these women, these crazy women, are just trying to, and I'm not talking about all women, I'm just saying, so-called feminists, they're just trying to impose their will on people. They're just trying to impose their will. That's it. They're saying they want to protect the world against, or the U.S. against fascism, when in real life they're kind of creating it. Imposing your will against someone is basically fascism. And, well, people aren't just going to take it anymore. They're not going to deal with this shit after a while. They're going to let it run its course, and the sensible women who really think this is bad or a bad idea are going to, be really pissed, and the men are going to start being really pissed. At least the ones that didn't lose all common sense and join, a group to completely, disgrace their own gender. That's fine. But, the U.S. is all about freedom, But when you start imposing your will on people, taking away their freedoms, that has a history of, well, not going so well. I mean, if you want proof, just look at all of human history. Like, literally all of human history. You take away people's rights, you make them feel like crap, you make them, suffer at doing their own doing someone else's, will, oppose, what's the word, fuck, I can't remember. If someone's opposing will is brought upon a person or a group of people, they're not going to really take it. It's just a thing where once people have had enough, they're just going to be like, alright, fuck this, I'm out, or fuck this, I'm taking over, you know? It's not that hard to comprehend. And see, what I don't understand is these so-called feminists and other, social justice warriors, Antifa, whatever it's called, they don't seem to understand, like, okay, yes, you can do what you want. It's a free country, basically, but, you can do and say what you want, but those actions and those words bring consequences. So, regardless if it's a free country or not, like, you can go up into the Bronx and say the N-word. Just screaming out loud if you're white, You can do that, yes. Is there a huge chance you may get your ass beat or even worse? Yes, there is. It's just, when you say things or do things, there's consequences. And they don't seem to realize that. A lot of people don't these days. And it really bothers me. It's like they don't even have a self-preservation instinct. It's weird. It's like they'll do what they want regardless of their own safety. And yes, historically that was a semi-good thing. Especially if, like, it was involving rights or just general mistreatment or whatever, and people were standing up, trying to make it better for the next person. But, see, the thing is, these people aren't. They're being selfish and trying to control what other people say and do, just like the people in history fought against. And, okay, yes, sometimes you can say, oh, they may think they're in the right, but regardless of you think you're in the right or not, you have to kind of realize what you're saying and doing and imposing on other people may bring a huge amount of consequences. So, I'm using may very lightly because it's almost certain. So, yeah, I mean, you can do what you want, you can say what you want, but you gotta realize there's consequences. And few people do these days. What I always do before I say or do something, I always weigh the consequences versus the positives. And, I like to see if it's worth it or not. Like, let's say, for instance, there's some huge, like, I'm talking pro wrestler size, like real wrestling, not like okay, let's say there's some huge ass MMA fighter, real fighter, right? He gets in front of me in line when I'm trying to order a coffee, right? And he basically cuts in front of a long line and I'm next up. Am I gonna say something? Yes. I'll probably say, excuse me, I was in line here. Am I going to risk anything if he says, so what, or doesn't, talk to me at all? Just ignores me? Hell no. I'm not going to get my ass beat from an MMA fighter. Pick your battles, people. Know when you're not going to win, and know if it's worth it or not if you aren't going to win. If you're going to get a message across, or whatever. You need to know when it's okay to do what you're gonna do. You gotta be able to understand, grasp the situation, or at least just say, is this worth it to do? You know? Is it worth, you know, upsetting so many people, pissing people off to the point where they rally against us and it may get hugely violent? I'm talking massive groups fighting you and just like hundreds and hundreds upon hundreds of people injured or worse. Is that worth it? Is all of that, just awful carnage and pain, and not only physical but mental pain, is that all worth it to you? Because it's more than likely that's what's going to happen. Anyway, even if there was a small risk of that happening, I'd say it wasn't worth it. But there's a huge risk it's going to happen. And you can ask anyone who has a decent lick of common sense. What's going to happen if these so-called feminist social justice warriors and Antifa people, whatever, what's going to happen if they keep pressing their luck? What's going to happen? It's not going to end well. It's just not. And I kind of feel bad if these people can't realize that. But then at the same time, I don't, because they're assholes. They're probably not even thinking about it. They probably won't even take the time to think of the consequences, which is willful ignorance, and that's what I hate most of all. People who are stupid by choice. Yeah, that's the worst of it. That's the worst people.